we've taken a company from 6,000 a month to 370,000 a month. That deep technical SEO work, getting backlinks from reputable sources, it's like jumping you forward 5 years of credibility. We look at data really differently because we are obsessed about the revenue. Any SEO company, you want them focused on revenue. There are all of these interconnected ecosystems within Google. They all have a place to bring traffic and create a great customer experience. Pretty much none of that exists in the LLM world.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge with event organizers and event professionals. Your experience has been very thorough throughout different fields, but you've really focused on the later years on AI, SEO, development and optimization, and making sure that organizations are able to grow organically. That's what I've read through your LinkedIn page. Now, I want to know from you, who is Simon Smalls?
All right, great. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, boy, and I'm really excited about our conversation. So Simon Small is part creator, part operator. The very early part of my life, I guess, I've traveled the world backpacking with my parents when I was 14. Didn't go to any school except for a couple of classes in a very rough North London school for a term. But we went into a lot of impoverished, they call them third world back then, places. And my mother was studying women in development, and she went on to start a feminist studies department at a university in New Zealand. I think the first one in New Zealand. And so I had this very different view of life. I grew up in New Zealand, and I just wanted to, drama and creative writing really grabbed me when I was at high school. In my final year, I just immersed myself in that. And then the next 5 years, I was writing play after play after play, having them professionally produced, starting a theatre company, running a venue. And a lot of that foundational work, particularly in the Pacific Island community, is still going today in New Zealand. So Simon Small, in one way, is this kind of theatre innovator, getting some of the first contemporary Pacific Island stories about what it's like to grow up in New Zealand up on stage, and that's helped birth a whole lot in the arts in New Zealand. And then to a farming community, I'm the guy that helped make the local TV happen in New Zealand. I went, studied broadcasting, met my wife at broadcasting school, and got a TV station off the ground with a bunch of people and learned the craft of television. And I was able to then sort of move into the technology field. I brought all of that into London, did a lot of research about what's happening in Silicon Valley, had a very fortuitous meeting in Silicon Valley with somebody who told me to go there a week earlier. I literally bumped into him. And he helped me get a job at Sky, when Sky launched its digital platform. And we were putting software up to the satellite to help interactive sports happen, which you can kind of do now on a smart TV, but we were doing it through software going to the satellite and down to millions of set-top boxes. Kind of high risk because you could blow up every box that was out there. So to that sort of era, I'm kind of the eagle-eyed guy that came along from New Zealand. And then I fell into technology full-time. So right up until I was about 37, I was in the art. I was sort of arts or media. There was always broadcasting or something that was the tied me back to where I started. And then I began selling enterprise SaaS software to British corporations, and then I was like waking up and saying, okay, I'm a sales guy now. Um, and probably the next couple of chapters have been co-founding an AI company, which was the very beginnings of generative AI before LLMs, or we chose not to have LLMs because of reliability issues. Um, that was 2012. And here I am back in London, and I'm in the SEO game. The first company I would say the first company would have been a theatre company, Pacific Underground. And then the second one um, would have been ARIA, ARIA, which is this generative AI company that's done very well. It's a British company. Yeah.
Why SEO and growth strategies?
Yeah. So that's really actually come about this year. So although Cura Digital's a few years old, I I've I've been helping in the background and just really got involved seriously this year to set it up in the UK and EMEA. Um, so the thinking behind that is that the SEO industry doesn't really like to measure itself on tangible results to do with revenue, and we saw a big opportunity there to focus and deliver increases in revenue for people. So if you're if you think of bringing it back to events, you think of um, the types of people that are searching for the topics and they want to come to an event and they don't know the brand name, then that's what we call a non-branded um, keyword, whatever they put into Google. So that non-branded keyword is where we want to get our clients appearing first, because that's a 28.5% click-through rate. Whereas if you're on the 10th page of Google, I'm only talking organic, I'm not talking paid. But if you're on the 10th place of Google, then you get a 1% click-through rate. So 28 times more traffic will come by being first place. And so we're specifically about high intent keywords for key customers that are going to search and come onto your website and buy. That's what we specialize in. So we like to track the revenue, and that's what makes us unique. There's a couple of other things there as well. Yeah.
I believe that before this year, you've already had such an amazing experience writing and connecting with technology that, as Steve Jobs kind of says, connect the dots. So, once again, going back to the time where I was looking at your profile and kind of like learning a little bit about you, I was so stunned because you can actually see how everything falls into place in a person. So that's something that I really appreciated from getting to know or coming into this interview with you. Now, can you tell us, for example, a strategy that you've used lately, okay, that has gotten you really good results that maybe could show that increase besides the 28% that you just told us, that increase in revenue and ROI and measurement?
Yeah. I haven't had anyone call it Roy before. That's good. Roy. Everyone usually spells it out. And I usually chalk it out, return on investment. Um, yeah. So what happens is that uh, you with a strategy to increase traffic, you really want to be thinking about the pages that Google's going to latch onto. So we always start with 5 or 10 or 15 pages on a website that we're going to exclusively focus on for 4 months. And what that gives Google is this chance to go, for this keyword, you're sending us over here. For this keyword's over here. We're signposting Google to bring all of the motorways of traffic that are out there into these different channels. And so I talked a little bit about the keywords and what's involved there. There's deep technical SEO work. So we see a lot of people making mistakes where they're trying to do different geographies. So they're trying to do a different country, or they're trying to do one like .com and try and capture the whole world. Unfortunately, Google really thinks in countries. and so what will rank in the UK is very different to what will rank in the US because there's different competitors, there's different things going on. So we always take a country by country, like where do you really want your customers? Where do you really want to focus? And if you want to do 2, 3 countries, that's fine, but don't expect like one country to really spill out into the others. You have to take each country. Um, so the page strategy gets great results and this figuring out this, say it's minimum of 5 pages for 4 months. It's better to do 10 or 15. And then that deep technical SEO work, getting backlinks from reputable sources and doing that in a reputable way to have it's what it's like. It's like jumping you forward like 5 years of credibility because we go out and we get these quality sites and publications to reference you because Google will then go, oh, you're trustworthy and authoritative. And you have to do that really carefully as well. And then the last piece is that content piece. So how are you going to write the content? Where's it going to sit on these pages that we've chosen? And it's not really about blogs and just blog pages. That you have to be careful with blogs. And we're really into content that wraps around certain pages that will bring Google in, and people with those high intent keywords that come to that page will start interacting and buying off that page. And you can make mistakes by spreading your keywords across too many pages, and we call it keyword cannibalization. Because Google kind of, as soon as Google is flicking between a couple of pages, you're kind of lost. You want to bring them in and anchor them. But just to give you some results, so um, we expect clients to get 20 to 50 times what they pay us a month. It can sometimes take a few cycles to get there, but that's where we expect them to be. So if you give us, $5,000, then you should be getting 100 or 250 grand a month. And the last thing is just what have we done? So we've taken a company from 6,000 a month to 370,000 a month, just using same flat.
Exciting.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. In the events industry, around 20 to 30% of the budget that usually is considered for an event is goes to marketing, right? And if you're kind of doing the numbers with what you're saying, that could exponentially really bring in results that are very, very positive to events. But one question that kind of arises is, the reach of the event usually is either local or regional or international. So in that case, when we're kind of like striving for different geographies to come to our event, we have to be a lot more creative, I guess, so we don't have to spread out for each country, or at least how would that go about?
Yeah, look, it's a challenge because I think you have to look at the data based on where you're picking up in the previous years. Like organic search as a channel in Google Analytics. That's what we're talking about here. It's like you go into Google Analytics and you look at your first click revenue attribution table, and it will tell you how much you're getting through that channel. It's actually, and then you can cross reference that and see how much you're actually transacting. So we always start with the raw data, and one of the things we've built in the last few years, this is one of the extras I was going to mention. It's a keyword analysis tool. So it allows you to look at high intent keywords and analyze them from a revenue perspective. So you can see for the first time, so in the last event, what did that keyword bring us, and from which country did that traffic come? And then you can see what your keywords are that are really punching way above their weight, and you can then plan out a page strategy around those. So you might find that fashion buyer event is doing fantastic in America, It's doing okay in the UK. It's doing not so well in Milan and Paris, right? Now, but once you look at all of the keywords and you see which ones are bringing more revenue from which countries, then you can start to have your page strategy, and you can go, okay, we're going to go hard on the Americans because they're already bringing in the lion's share of our revenue. Oh, and what about this keyword over here? We're not even touching it. It's got 10,000 people a month searching for it. And the difficulty of how there's a keyword difficulty scale. And you can see it's this tool that we use. It's called Ahrefs. You can just go in and see the keyword difficulty level, and you go, oh, we can rank number one for that if we're careful and we go about it properly. So then you can start. So, and our tool will go, okay, for fashion buyer event, that keyword, you might be doing, 4,000 in revenue from the tickets for that organically, from America. And you're at position 7 on Google. So 7th one on the list organically, not counting any paid ad. So if we can get you higher up, then look at our curve here. It's an exponential curve. We can get you maybe 40,000 a month when those tickets are really selling. Or, that's the science behind it. Does that make sense?
That's mind blowing, especially, there's a word that you use on various occasions during this conversation, which I think it's fundamental within our industry, which is data, analyzing the data. Just taking a look at the numbers, taking a look at what's going on around the numbers, around our competition, around our own constructions, our own narratives around the marketing strategy. And that is just really something that is right now very, very fundamental to keep an eye on within our industry, and that not many people do. And that's why sometimes it's so hard to find sponsors, or to find, the meaning behind the participation in an event or organizing in an event. And we're not getting the support from the C-suite because of that, because of the lack of information that we can channel to these activities. But just, the fact that data is at the center of what you do, I think is fundamental for our community.
Yeah. And we look at data really differently because we are obsessed about the revenue. So this tool that I mentioned, Ahrefs, I mean, I could even fire it up for you and we could look at it at an event if you want. But there's so much data there that it takes a particular um, process and approach to be able to discern what's important, and then and what it all means and how it should inform your strategy. Just sort of to reinforce, like, whether people work with Cura Digital or for anyone, any SEO company, you you want them focused on revenue. Like, you really want them to be um, delivering revenue results, and we don't really find anyone that thinks about it like that. But the other big thing about this data point you raise is that it's word of mouth. So we go into Ahrefs, we see what people are thinking and typing. It's That's the word of mouth. That's what it's not even word of mouth. It's like
Process.
it's what they're dumping in there. It's a consciousness of the planet bringing these words together to say, I want to find out about these words.
There's a higher intent. There's a higher buying intent right there, right?
But you see it. You go, oh my goodness. Then they
Cool.
you might think you should be here, and then you look. Often people, I tell them what words do you want to rank for, and they give me the stuff, and we put it in, and we look at it, and it's just like there's no demand there. There's like 50 people in America looking at that a month. There's nothing there. Like, you don't want to be building a business off that. But over here, there's 18,000. So, well, like, it's fascinating.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, I'm guessing that right there is where the next part of your career kind of comes in, which is AI, right? How is AI right now being a part of your organization, and how is it playing around all this dynamics of, vast amounts of data and getting results?
Yeah, so there's so many different ways to have the conversation around AI with you right now. Like on one level, how do we use it to optimize our business? And I think with right now in our business, we're just using it as a kind of a personal point to point solution for crafting and high quality writing. I would characterize it as that. Um, and I'm bringing on lots of clients, and you know I want to have a sort of personal cover email, but I want it to learn. I don't want to have to write it all myself all the time. I want it to learn. So I'm just sort of putting a little bit of time and uploading my old cover emails and having it get all the nuances of, and it's, so that is helping with the brain fatigue, because it's like, ah, it can do that bit for me, it's a breath of fresh air. And I think that's just everywhere, the more people embrace the different LLMs, then you just get that kind of little boost. Um, where where I've seen AI doing SEO, it has been appalling. I saw something this week, and it was a whole site that, and I was going through it, and because usually, well, just by default, we want to be helping clients get ranking for keywords where they can actually get top spot. This site just had all this stuff. It was just like paint thrown at a wall, as in there's a whole lot of keywords, and they're all like on page 7, 8, 9 of Google, and they were never going to get much higher because they were really difficult keywords to rank for. And I was just looking at these results. I was like, who's been doing this? They said, oh, this fantastic AI SEO thing. You just pay monthly, and and um, so that to me is an example where the AI that's being used in that business is gaming the wrong metrics to make it feel worthwhile, and it hasn't actually solved the hard problems. Um, so that's kind of one piece of kind of AI in our space. But I want to talk more briefly, more specifically, briefly about AI within the battle between Google Google search and the LLMs. And I've got a couple of sticky notes that were left in this. On that side is the LLM. You can't even see that, can you? And on that side is Google. So LLM and Google, right? What's happened is that there's been a movement. So when you want to do things and when you want to find out things and do things and get some knowledge about something, Google replaced our library to a certain extent. It replaced encyclopedias. This is the world's information organized. And so a lot of that has just shifted over, right? That's shifted from Google into LLM world. And what's happened is the prompting has been like the new generation of the keywords. So now we're in prompt land. And the more I prompt, the more I learn to prompt, the more I can work this, the more I can hang out here. And so that's why we're getting article after LinkedIn post after news story, is Google dead? Because there's an infatuation with the new toy in town, and the new toy can do a lot more than just like tell me, just general knowledge questions. So all the knowledge questions can kind of come over here and be really well served. And by the way, obviously Google's got its spot over here as well, because it's got its own LLM Gemini. But the entire stack of e-commerce, the like everything that we think of when we're going to buy something, the live inventory, um, even like booking a restaurant at booking a table at a restaurant. This entire kind of stack of kind of internet 2.0, Google is right in the center of that, and with maps and AdWords and search and Google My Business and YouTube, at all of which don't really talk to each other. So you're working on Google's on organic search, doesn't talk to AdWords, it doesn't talk to Google My Find My Business. Um, it, yeah, so there are all of these interconnected ecosystems within Google, but then for web development and e-commerce stores, e-commerce platforms, all the agencies, all the merchants, they all have a place and and levers to pull and things that they do to bring traffic and and create a great customer experience. Pretty much none of that exists in the LLM world. You can't actually update your stock and think that any LLM's going to see it. You can't even guarantee that they're going to know that your store exists. It's the completely closed system because in the LLM world, they have training data and the model feeds on that training data, it digests it and makes sense of it. And it's a security weakness to inject any data into that. No data can go into that training data. You can't say, hang on, chat GPT, for the next thing, can you just update? Can I tell you about my store? It's a security vulnerability to let any of that information in as far as the LLMs are concerned. So these two ecosystems are going to live, and that's how AI and kind of e-commerce shopping are going to kind of cohabitate. A bit like you have Android and you have the iPhone.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Simon, we have a couple of minutes left. I just want you to tell us 5 things that you would like us to take home from this conversation. I know we missed many things. I wanted to talk to you about compliance, but that is something for the next interview that hopefully we can get to have with you someday. Sure. 5 things.
5 things. Well, yeah, understand the traffic around your event, go deep into the data, become smarter about how you're selling your tickets organically. So the the thing is that organic search revenue, where people are just searching up, they don't know your brand name. So non-branded organic search revenue is your friend, and although it's hard, it's very undervalued. And as you build it up over time, it's going to be a really strategic asset. And be smart about the territories that you focus on when it comes to organic search revenue. Don't worry about anything on the LLM AI side to do with your revenue. You just need to be focused on this kind of Google ecosystem for now, because that's what you can actually manage. That's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Simon. It's been a pleasure, honestly, to get to, dive into your mind a little bit and get all those insights. I truly appreciate it, and I know that many people that watch this interview are going to appreciate it too. Hope to have you back soon, and yeah, thank you so much. Hope you had an amazing day.
You're welcome. Thanks very much for the opportunity.